boys are back after another very interesting NFL weekend. A lot to go through, to be honest. A lot of teams doing bad, a lot of teams doing bad, a few teams doing well. But first, lads, how are you? Tag?
I'm good, mate. It's a different fantasy chat Monday afternoon for me, in the fact of I've still a chance of winning my fantasy matchup in the punt. Not like last week where Bish had dropped me kegs in front of everyone. I've got a real chance this week. We spoke about Tariq last week in Panic Stations. I've stuck with him. A big game from Tariq tonight brings home the W for the GOAT. So I'm praying for the cheater bringing home a win for me tonight. Otherwise, I am in a bit of strife in the league. I'm not going to lie.
I like it. Bish, how are you?
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in myself more than anything else. I've rode this journey all season. My thoughts on Aaron Rodgers. I've let you and Tag suck me in. 1 week wonder, I believed, and it's looking like it's going to cost me a fantasy win in the punt this week. I need 44 points from Achan and Kyron Williams this week. So I'm kicking myself, but it's a lesson learned. Go with your gut. You know, it's just a tough pill to swallow. You know that I watched that. I spent quite a lot of time watching that Jets game, and my goodness, that offense is, and even now the defense as well. It's just what was solid is now falling apart. So yeah, that's it's one hell of an off season that franchise is going to have.
Sauce Gardner can't tackle, can he?
No one can. No. So the only thing that can cheer me up tonight is a Rams win. So
I just don't want to where anybody put Sauce Gardner in PS2's league ever again. Don't ever put them in the same league.
Yeah, he's been found out a bit this year, hasn't he? Like you said, on the good coverage, can't tackle, needs to put on, I think, about 5 kg to have any chance in the to be a top cornerback, I think, going forward. But yeah, in my game, 68 points, another shocking week for me. I think I'm going 5-5 on the year. Really happy with my team, actually. So I don't know where I've just had one of them weeks. I think I've had the 3 lowest scoring weeks combined ever, and it's 5-5 and struggling, lads. So we'll get into it, and it's Overreaction Monday. We love the takes. Give me something, lads. What have you got?
Bish can start if he wants. Bish is normally negative Ned on this. So.
Oh, I'm not this week. I've got my boy. My boy is back. I've been sitting on this since Friday morning, since I watched it. And Joe Burrow, he is the best quarterback in the league right now. And if he had a half decent defense, he'd be walking the MVP. It would be his already. I think he's playing the best football of his life at the minute. You know, it looked like he's really knuckled down. You're not hearing much out of him in the media. That swag's sort of gone. It's a more serious Joey B now. And in defeat on Thursday night, over 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Week 4, the first meeting between these two, the Ravens and the Bengals, he had 5 touchdown passes. And last week against the Raiders, he had another 5 touchdown passes. So what more can he do? You know, he is literally carrying that franchise. He's healthy. He's looking really good. He just needs some help from that defense. So for me, it's great to see him back. But and to be fair, there's still a sneaky shout for the playoffs. But that defense is got to improve massively.
Yeah, and we basically need to improve that defense to be able to win something, and they've got to do it while they've got this franchise quarterback, Joey B. I'm with you, mate. If people don't know, me and Bish like our sports cards, our NFL cards. We have invested in Joey B over the years quite a bit in his rookie cards, hoping that he does win that Super Bowl at some point soon. And it's great to see him playing like he does. I'm just frustrated that he ain't got that defense to carry us to some profit, but I'm sure that'll come. But I do agree with you, Bish, in the fact of there's not many people playing like him at the minute.
And I love the fact that even for if we're talking fantasy, that he's getting his wide receivers involved. Obviously, we've had Lamar, we've had some of these other QBs who normally score very heavy, but then don't provide a full package for the team and people who like it. And you've got Chase scoring 50 points. He's the wide receiver one, nearly getting the triple. He's got potentials to get the triple crown like Cooper Kupp did a couple of years ago. Obviously, T. Higgins has been a consistent performer. You've had the running backs are consistent performers, always getting good scores. Obviously, in the past with Joe Mixon, now with even Chase Brown. So it's I like that. You're not only banking on Joey B getting good fantasy scores, you're getting good fantasy scores all around. So it makes it even easier to be a fan when you can draft 3 or 4 of the team and you're in the money in fantasy as well.
Yeah, everyone's an option. You've got Mike Gesicki there now lighting it up. Even the backup Tanner Hudson and Higgins. Higgins is a funny one because I think he's on the franchise tag. He's never going to play if he's fully fit. So he's been in and out this year. But Andre, I don't even know how to pronounce his surname, Yoshi Voss, even he's he is literally next man up and Joe Burrow will find you. So yeah, he's doing incredible things. I just really hope that defense had him make a step.
I'll go with my one, lads, and I'm rehashing one from a couple of weeks ago, and I've slaughtered myself, and I think you lads have made 1 or 2 comments in the past, and I'm bringing it back up. I think the Chiefs are pretenders. I'm still on it. I've still yet to be convinced. Mahomes is having an off year. Even the greats have off years. Tag Bish, you've had your off years in the past in your rugby careers. This is Mahomes' off year, and I think it's not happening. They're getting incredibly lucky. I'm getting Pittsburgh Steelers 2020. I'm getting the Ravens. I'm getting that sort of vibe where I'm just not fully convinced by the whole process this year. Like you said, winning by a block field goal is just ridiculous against your team tag. So. I'm still not bought in. I think Hopkins is a couple of years over the line. He's been consistent, but he's not been that number one yet. I don't think he will be, and I'm not convinced they go. I'm not convinced they have a deep playoff run. I'm not saying they're not going to win the first round or maybe the thing, but I don't think they make the Super Bowl. Or I think they'll struggle to make the conference championships. That's not what they're called, but you get my point.
Yeah, I'll disagree, Joe. But the thing is, not many teams are going to go in the playoffs to our head and win. They're going to have the home draw all the way through. Now they're 8-0, or is it 9-0 now? 8-0, 9-0. They've had the bye, haven't they? They're going to play at home all the way now. They're going to be the number 1 seed more than likely. I disagree in the fact that Mahomes took 4 touchdown passes last week. They've always sort of got it in the bag to win. Don't get me wrong, it was frustration for me as a Broncos fan yesterday, but we are an underrated Broncos team. We have got a very, very good defense, and unless you turn up, we will defend you out the game. We've seen that with many teams this year when we've played them. Our fault is, we haven't got that star quarterback at the minute, what a rookie learning, but I just find it hard to disagree. I like the Chiefs. I think they always do enough, and we haven't even got to playoff Kelsey mode yet. It's just starting to pick up now. We're seeing Kelsey coming back to form at the minute. Give Diop another few weeks. Pacheco, don't forget Pacheco's in the wings. He's back in the next few weeks. I've just got to disagree, Joe. I think they're an absolute banker for the AFC Championship game. I really think they're a banker for that Championship game. And the many teams who I think could go toe-to-toe with them. I think the one person who does go toe-to-toe from all day long is Joe Burrow, like we've spoke about, but he just hasn't got that defense.
Josh Allen's coming through. I think it's the year.
That's next week. That's the big one. That I think for me, that's the last one on the schedule. That's on paper could knock them off. And little things like that field goal block. I don't think it's luck. It's study. It's hard work. The interviews after the game, the special teams, they said that they saw a weakness down the middle of the Dallas Cowboys, the Denver field goal blocking unit, and that's exactly where they exploited it. 3 or 4 ran through that middle. But it's Sean Payton. We know he's a tricky customer. To be fair, Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton 1-on-1, it were all over. So maybe the Chiefs underestimated him a little bit. Disrespected Bo Nix a little bit there. But I think it's a wake up call. But for me, I still think they're more than capable of going unbeaten.
We'll see. I think the big week's up ahead. I think in the betting show, I guess you won't be tailing me because I'll be taking the Bills to the Chiefs, lads. So you can join me if you want, but we'll see on Friday night. Tag, it's you left.
Well, I'll stay in the AFC West, and we've spoken about MVP, we've spoken about teams. I'm going to chuck in there Coach of the Year, Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers. For me, what he's done in such a short period of time since going in there and turning that franchise around, for me, arguably the worst wide receiver core in the league. The way Justin Herbert's balling out, Bish spoke about it last week, and we even saw the big fella running last night and scoring touchdowns. The way the defense is playing, the way he's pounding the run. They've only lost 2 games all year, I think it is. They're for what he's done in a short period of time, and how he's flipped that franchise team around and turned them in the team they are now, and they're unlucky in the same league as the Chiefs. They're going to be nailed on wildcard spot for me, and they're going to be a real tough team to beat. I think is Coach of the Year. I know we've got an unbeaten Andy Reid, and we've got Dan Campbell 8-1 flying, but that team he's got around him is unbelievable. But what Jim Harbaugh's done with the tools he's got, for me, is Coach of the Year.
Yeah, it's a fair shout. And I was worried about him, I must admit. I was worried about Harbaugh going there and what he'd do to Herbert. But I think, like you said there, we're seeing it the last few weeks. That play action, you've got to account for J.K. Dobbins. He's having a great year. And they're not big name household wide receivers, but they're getting the job done down the field. Lad McConkey looks one of the better rookies this year as well. So yeah, it's they're getting the job done. Defense is bread and butter, and they're looking good as well. So yeah, I'm liking what we're seeing out of Justin Herbert now. Yeah, he's looking good.
The only thing I've got against that is for fantasy purposes. I'll keep it fantasy relevant here. I think it's not been good for the Chargers, has it? Apart from Herbert alone, Dobbins hasn't been a big scorer, but even he's in a split backfield. You've got
defense.
The defense is the only one that's really fantasy viable week in, week out. The wide receivers, Palmer, like you said, McConkey, they're all Quentin Johnson. They're all getting there. They're all getting their little moments, and it's fantasy wise, it's been awful, to be honest with you. So I'm a bit sad on that part, but hopefully Herbert can keep getting used to these wide receivers. One of them can stand out, and we can have some fun with him next year when hopefully we'll get a wide receiver one out of him and can have a bit more fun in the fantasy land.
I think the Chargers are a team what could beat the Chiefs. If there's a team that could upset the Chiefs, Chargers could be that team.
I agree.
Herbert's riding me all the way in fantasy now. Aaron Rodgers, see you later, mate. It's Herbert.
Lads, on to the like you said, on to the more negative parts, the injury report. Bish, I believe you've got a couple for us.
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll start with Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, he missed the game, shoulder injury. There's sort of some rumours it might be season ending as well. Which, if they've not been great, but because they've been trailing from behind, he's actually, he's still putting up the numbers for fantasy. He's still getting the numbers there. But obviously now this puts a massive limit on your Brian Thomas Jr., who's had really good flashes this year. So you've got to dial that down a little bit on all the offense with Mac Jones coming in. He threw for 111 yards, but he did have 2 interceptions, and he actually rushed for a touchdown. So if you're an Etienne or Tank Bigsby owner as well, you don't want to see that. So I think it's just a sort of a limit on that offense in general. They're going to be behind now. They've got a lesser quarterback in there, maybe not the arm as Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, probably the biggest one is Brian Thomas Jr. for me. And then the other one, which hurt me in the league, is Dalton Kincaid. The tight end, he had 2 catches and then left pretty early on in the game with a knee injury. it looked the perfect matchup for him against the Colts. So that was a massive one. Left, as I said, left with a knee injury. Was seen wearing a brace after the game. I've not seen any updates as of yet of how serious that is. So, but in a obviously a tight end market, we know he's tough at the best of times this year. That's a pretty big one off the board. If it is, if he is going to miss some time, so that will be a tough one for those owners. For myself, I'm sort of looking now and seeing who I can stream in that league that I've got him, because I really needed him to perform that game just to sort of give me some confidence in playing him going forward, and it didn't happen. So yeah, I think you're going to have to sit on him for those owners and hope for another big game out of him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's the tight ends definitely got better from them early season 7-8, so there should be more options. But it's been probably the toughest position to pick week on week out, toughest position to stream. So yeah, good luck in the next week or two, Fish. I think
we need more national tight end days. We throw them in once a month. That's the way forward.
Yeah. And I think I've got one. I've got Miles Sanders. This is purely because I've been touting him since start of the fit. I've drafted him in both my leagues. He's now back. He didn't get the game at the weekend, but Jonathan Brooks should now be at least benchable and hopefully has any fantasy relevance. Being one of my draft picks in both my leagues, he's been an absolute dud. Obviously, come back later than we thought with how good Chuba's been. They've not needed him. Miles Sanders has been an okay addition to the pass catching core. He's now gone. Hopefully Brooks gets that pass catching and shows some of the flashes he showed in college. So Brooks owners, not hold on to your seats, but hold on to your sitting chair, and hopefully you get some action, and we can at least say it was an okay draft. Next one, lads. It's the classic. It's Panic Station. I'm going to start us off with the obvious one. There's a few obvious ones, I think, this week. So there's been some shocking ones. I'm going to start off with the Dallas Cowboys. I presume we're on the Panic Station. I presume the train's on the way. But where are you standing? And are you on the train? Have you left the platform? Are you still debating whether you're buying the ticket?
It's like Inspector Poirot. It's death on the Orient Express. The train's gone. Everyone's getting killed, and who's done it? At the end of the fantasy film, we see Jerry Jones handcuffed, getting put in the police car.
Brilliant analogy we've had with the train one. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're long gone. I think if you got CD Lamb, there's better hope there. If they change the floodlights at Cowboy Stadium, you can have CD Lamb when they're playing at home. But no, there's serious trouble there. I just don't know anyone there you'd be happy to. You've got CD. You're not getting as much as what you was getting from. You've got to sort of stick with CD. Anyone else, I just don't know who you start. Awful running back core. I mean, Zeke Elliott is terrible, and then when he is needed, he fumbles the ball over the goal line. It's embarrassing, and there's just not much going on there.
Yeah, for me, the only start on I'm a big CD Lamb owner in other leagues as well, and yeah, I'm petrified. I don't know what to do. You're forced to play him, but you've got to lower your I think 2.3 points this week, something around there. Absolute awful from your wide receiver one. But for me, I think if you're playing in a half PPR or PPR league, I think Rico Dowdle's still playable, just because you've got Trey Lance in there or you've got Cooper Rush in there. And as we know, it's just easy dump offs, and just racking up the points through those receptions. He had 3 targets, 3 receptions for 3 yards at the weekend. So he's consistent, but that's 3 points there. Just from the catches. So I think for me, yeah, that's the only one I'd be confident of playing.
I think what I was going to say is if you've got room on your bench, you could maybe get Trey Lance, because if Trey Lance starts, if Rush ain't doing the job, he's a runner and he's going to be out there proving a point, proving himself, his last chance saloon. You might get some cheap points late from him in your fantasy team if you need a QB, but yeah, I'm clutching at straws.
I like it, trying to stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously we've got some other really bad teams. I'll mention the New York Jets, another shocking. Bish, obviously we know how passionate you've been the last 20 minutes of this podcast. You've started Aaron Rodgers. Obviously there's Garrett Wilson owners, there's Devontae Adams traders, there's Breece Hall, who I've got in one of my other leagues. So yeah, where are we at on the station? Is it the same? Is it the same one, or who performed the murders on the Orient Express in the Jets? Who's to blame?
This one's Rodgers pulling all the strings here, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's similar. You've got to play them with caution and just hope that it's them that goes off. I don't think Rodgers is the play, but we've seen Garrett Wilson get the yards. We know Devontae Adams is going to be peppered with receptions. You've just got to hope that Rodgers can get it away. That O-line is, keeps him standing because he can't move. He's not got much mobility at all. So again, it's another gamble. But again, Garrett Wilson, another player I've spent a lot on in some leagues trading for. And like you said, I own Devontae Adams in the punt. So yeah, I'm going to keep playing them because the way it is, the defense, what used to be a solid unit, is now leaking like a sieve, leaking points. So they're always trailing as well. So I'm just hoping Rodgers can find them. It is pure hope at this stage, if I'm honest.
There was a few raised eyebrows when I had Breece Hall right down my running back list at the start of the year. I got a few wrong, openly got a few wrong, but I just wasn't feeling it. And I think if you've drafted him in top 5, 6 in leagues, like a lot of people have, you're gutted now. You wish he was on the C-Mac train. Who's back?
Who's back? Yeah.
That's the player I've got in my other league. He's obviously had like 3 weeks of really, really high production, so he's still ranked 11th, but that's based off about 2 or 3 weeks of him getting these reception touchdowns. Other than that, he's just been awful, hasn't he? So it's I'm devastated. The way they're using him as well, it doesn't look good. Like you said, they've got no offensive line. They were using him early on as kind of like a receiver, like Green Bay used to use Aaron Jones a bit, that he used to line up, but he's getting less and less usage, obviously, with the fact they're trailing that much, and they're just not he's just not getting utilised. He still looks good when he gets open, so it's a really frustrating one being a Breece Hall owner.
And we saw quite a bit of Braylon Allen as well. That backup. So, like you said, it's not just his backfield anymore; he's sharing as well.
Right.
Lads, you got any?
Yeah, I've got one, and I've got to raise it. We spoke about bad teams. Let's talk about the New York Giants. New York. No team is any good from there at the minute. But one player in particular, panic stations of people who own Malik Neighbors. Bish knows I've had him in one league at the start, and after he had a couple of big weeks, I was actively trading high on him. Not because of him, because of Daniel Jones. I just don't like him, don't trust him. That's one of the trades what has paid off for me. Some haven't, some have been awful. Don't get me wrong, I ain't just saying the ones I do well here. But since he's come back off his injury, off his head knock, he's gone 6 points, 10 points, 10.7. So averaging around about 7.5, 8 points over 4 weeks as a wide receiver 1. We've seen what the Giants are doing. For me, Daniel Jones is he's on borrowed time. I mean, I can't believe they aren't going to put Drew Lock in there anytime soon. What do you do with Malik Neighbors? Luckily, like I said, I don't have him, but if I have Malik Neighbors owner out there, I think I'd be pretty worried now because he's getting to the point where you don't know if you can start him or not for me.
Yeah, what frustrates me in that game as well is that they didn't really use him. He's your main man. You think you just force feed him as much as you can. he didn't really get any action until the fourth quarter.
No, chasing the game and then finding,
And he looks like he's struggling with a hamstring injury as well, especially that second half, he was limping quite a lot. So it's been a nightmare for wide receivers this year, hasn't it? It seems to be the running backs have been steady and the wide receivers are all over the place. So again, I'd say in a PPR and a half PPR, you play him because you think he's going to get peppered, or that's what should happen. When the volume starts to decrease, then you've got to bench him surely in this offense. It's not, it's they're on a bye now. Their only saving grace is the next two games are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who secondaries all over the place, and the Dallas Cowboys. Although Micah Parsons is back and getting after the quarterback, so maybe that's not as juicy matchup as it once was earlier on in the year. So yeah, I'm fully on the train on this one and panicking.
Like you said, Bish, I'll just go off the fact you're saying about the wide receivers. I'm hoping if you have been a Malik Neighbours owner, you've either traded them away like you have Tag, or you've filled your bench with some wide receiver options. I think that would have been the smart thing to do. You would have throughout the year used that waiver wire, use other trades to fill out some other options for you there. Because if he's your main man and you've relied on him, knowing, like you said, Daniel Jones and how bad the overall offense is, without being harsh, more full you really, isn't it? So, but the good thing is that there is plenty. You can find wide receiver 4-5s having big weeks. We've had Ricky Pearsall, we've had MVS going crazy. We've had Alec Pierce being quite steadily inconsistent, but when he has a good week, very good scoring. So I think you can find value elsewhere. So it's not the end of the world, as Bish said, in the wide receiver market. But I think, you're definitely on the panic stations, and you'd be picking up 2 or 3 wide receivers to hope 1 or 2 of them can cover based on matchups that week.
Yeah, again, I thought about touching on the Colts. Joe Flacco now is not looking steady at all, is he? There'll be questions. Let's have Richardson back because that's looking pretty bad. But I'm going to go with sort of one. And personally, I'm not on the train yet, but I'll see where you boys are. Obviously, Justin Jefferson. Obviously he would have been a first round pick, no doubt about it, in every league. He's still wide receiver 2 on the year. He is consistent, but the last 2 weeks, Sam Darnold has thrown 5 interceptions. He's forcing the ball into him. It's not paying off. This week, I think Justin Jefferson had 48 yards. The last 2, he had pretty big weeks. He's not scored in at least three games. He's gone without scoring a touchdown now. His next 3 games are the Titans. Okay, the Bears. Defense is still showing up for the Bears, and now the Cardinals, who all of a sudden have turned a corner. So I want, what do you think of him? Obviously you're gonna be starting him, but are you going to have to sort of? When I think of Jefferson, I think of 15, 20 points as a standard, like 100 yards, touchdown, and I'm just getting a bit worried with him in that we're not seeing that high volume anymore. We've not, and it's probably, to be fair, it's probably down to Sam Darnold. But where are you boys at with him? Is it just a little blip from Sam Darnold, nothing to worry about, or is it something that we could see affect later on in obviously the playoffs where you need him?
Do you want me to go, Joe?
Yeah, Tag, you go.
For me, wide receiver spot, JJ falls under this. What's going on with the wide receiver spot? Let's put Jamar Chase in his own league. Freakish year, wide receiver 1 by a country mile. The fact that we're talking about JJ and his wide receiver 2, I think sums up wide receivers in fantasy this year. If we talk about Chris Olave with his injuries, we talk about Tyreek Hill, a top 3 pick who's been non-existent for weeks now. We're talking about a Malik Neighbours. We're talking about a Cooper Kupp. CeeDee Lamb, we've just mentioned, another top 5 wide receiver. The wide receiver spot is in trouble for me at the minute in fantasy. And that's why we're talking about Jefferson. I think you're right, Bish, in what you're saying, but who do you replace him with? You're not getting Jamar Chase. He's just on his own. And with JJ, what you're getting is he's only had 1 real injury in his career. is consistently going to get the ball thrown towards him. Yeah, we don't trust the quarterback, but for me, I just worry about, I could be completely wrong, but for me, the wide receiver position, there ain't just any real big consistent players out there who you'd even could consider trading for. You would be scared with JJ, and the quarterback is this real Sam Darnold. Please stand up. Is he here? But yeah, it's just a tricky position for me this year. It's just Jamar Chase walking away with it, and everyone else is just limping behind him.
Well, in my just to go off your tag, in my other league, I've got my three wide receivers are Tank Dell, Xavier Legette, and Ricky Pearsall. So that doesn't sum up where we are as a position group. I think everyone's struggling, and yeah, Bish, to answer to make it quick, you've got no other option. I think like you said, you're happy with him. I think he did sneak into the second round in a few drafts, didn't he, this year? I think he did sneak you in the back end. People were worried with Sam Darnold very early on, obviously quickly realised they were very wrong. Now might be right again. But I think you've got to be happy with how little any of them other top receive, how bad every other top receiver has been, other than Jamar Chase. You've got to be happy, haven't you? Like Tad said, whether he has a few bad ones, comparison is the fee for joy, aren't you? And he's wide receiver 2 in the competition, and I think you'd take that from a top 5 or about 6th or 7th wide receiver taken off the board.
Yeah, I think I'm sort of seeing it following what you said there, Tag. My flex option now is pretty much predominantly choosing out of running backs. The wide receivers, unless there's one where you're taking a punt on, you need some upside. But for me, it's like I'm looking at my team. It's running backs, flex spot, bench heavy. Because the wide receivers, it's just a crapshoot.
It's a roll of dice. It's a roll of the dice.
Well, a bit more positivity, lads, after we've just destroyed the wide receivers of full sports. So we'll move on to Bish's breakouts. Bish, start us off. Who's your favourite player of this week?
He is my overreaction. He is back. It's the King, Joe Burrow, Joey B. 33.7 points in the punt. I believe Jordan Lane had him.
Yeah.
I believe that's right. Yeah, it was on a bit of a stormer lately. I'm getting worried. But yeah, as I said, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, 34 completions. So got a hell of a lot of volume. But not the victory on the night, but he gets the victory tonight. He gets my my breakout player of the week.
I can go off the back of that, Bish, because I've got him and Chase together. 83 points between them. The Bengal magic. Chase 50 points. Burrow 33. We won't talk about the personal ones. Chasing our league, who's still going to lose his tie, and the rest of his team can't even score 50. It's quite embarrassing.
Is that the last year's winner?
Yeah, that's what history does to you. We go forward, it doesn't happen. But I will have a little mention the fact of I can't salute the King this week. He is still the fantasy MVP. I think he got about 14 points. I can't salute you this week, Derek. I'll bring you up every week, mate, but I can't salute you this week. Unless you're hitting 20 plus like normal, I can't salute you, mate.
And I'll give a quick one to 2 rookies who I've got in my other league. They deserve a shout out. The man who I mentioned him just then, the man who got shot, Ricky Pearsall, 2 very good receiving touchdowns. No, sorry, just 1, but then 2 very long, good receptions with the touchdown. Looked phenomenal, and another wide receiver option in that very stacked San Fran offense. They probably needed him with the injury for Ayuk. So, yeah, if they do keep them all, if they do keep Ayuk, if they do keep Debo, if they do keep, obviously they'll keep Pearsall next year. It's going to be another scary year. I think they just need to make some additions to that defense, and obviously, hopefully, McCaffrey stays healthy, and there'll be a early lock for a top team next year with like I said, another outbreak player. And then my other one's another rookie. It's Bucky Irving. Obviously, we've mentioned the game against I've mentioned the game against the Kansas City. Meant to be, they were ranked number 1 against fantasy running backs, and Bucky Irving, not too much pass catching, just looks unbelievably unbelievable on the run. He's now through he had this weird toe injury he's been dealing with for 3 or 4 weeks. 73 yards, a touchdown, 16.2 fantasy points, and I think he's slowly taking that Rachaad White role. White's moved into the pass catching thing. Luckily, he got a receiving touchdown to keep his day going, to keep fantasy owners happy. But yeah, I think them two rookies deserve a shout out. Two very, very Pearsall wouldn't have been drafted. Irving, I think in that draft alone was the last pick on the board. So yeah, I think they both deserve a good shout out.
You've done it, Joe.
Yeah, thank you. I'm leaving some comments speechless. I need to think. But the next one, Tag, I'll let you start off with this one. It's the waiver wire pickups. Who you're picking up this week?
Yeah, I've got 2 here, and a couple of. I think one pretty obvious. We'll go with MVS, Valdez-Scantling. Olave out for quite a significant amount of time. Some people potentially saying the rest of the season. Valdez-Scantling, Derek Carr obviously look like his main target, especially while Shaheed is still struggling with injury. I think if you need a wide receiver, backup, flex spot potentially, or going against a team what you think is going to be tough to beat, he's a sort of player you throw in. You might get a 2-3 touchdown game out of him. I think he's pretty available in most leagues as expected. And the other one I'm going to chuck in there, who's still available in most leagues from what I've seen, is Cam Akers. Just a little one for you. He's getting more and more involved. Bish's old buddy who won a Super Bowl at the Rams. I love Cam Akers. Really think he's a good player. Aaron Jones got a bit of a rib shot. He come back into the game, but he still look comfortable to me. And Aaron Jones is Aaron Jones. Is this time of year where you do sometimes see him pick up a few niggles. He's a bit fragile. Cam Akers has been in Minnesota now. They did trade for him. They went and got him. And he's been there 3-4 weeks now. And I think he's coming more and more into the game. We have just spoke about the wide receiver spot being quite scarce. If you're going to stock up on a running back on the bench, I'd pick up Cam Akers.
Nice, I like it, Bish.
Yeah, you've nailed my 2 there, Tag. I had literally both. I thought obviously Scantling would be popular, but yeah, I like Cam Akers, and he's pretty similar to Aaron Jones. He's that. Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Boom, gone. Dropped his 2 and gone. But yeah, no, he's very similar to Aaron Jones in that he's a pass catching running back. So it fits in the mold very well. And we know Aaron Jones is susceptible to injuries. And as Tag said, he's picking up a few knocks now. So, and I'm just going to put a spin on this section as, I've not given a waiver. I'm going to give my trade of the week.
Oh, he's back.
He's back.
Sorry, lads. Left studio a bit keen there.
Yeah. I'm just putting a spin on this. Because I don't have a waiver of the week. I've got a trade of the week.
Love it.
And my trade of the week is go get Brock Purdy. Joe mentioned it perfectly there. He's got all his weapons back now. He's got Pearsall. He's got Debo. He's got Kittle. He's got CMC back. He threw for over 350 yards at the weekend. Go get him. He'll win you the league.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. Mine's a bit less impactful, more of a basic one on the running back ones that you've mentioned, both of you have mentioned. I'm going to go Trey Benson. He had a fantastic, he didn't have a fantastic week. He had a good solid week, got you 10 fantasy points in the league for the Cardinals. James Conner, I've not checked the history, but I think he normally gets that much action. He does quieten down as the season progresses. He just used that much. He just used that heavily. He's been a running back now for numerous years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, the Cardinals for the last couple of years. He's on his last legs. I know it's a bit harsh to say that, but he looks less explosive. He's not had as big of a year in terms of explosive big plays. He's just getting enough. He's getting enough utilization that he's and enough touchdowns that he's being viable for you. I think Trey Benson's looking better and better. He was a man who quite a few people picked early on in the season to be a fantasy player. They got proven wrong, but I think this is the time to pick up Trey Benson. And I think, like you said, with your flex position, wide receivers being so unpredictable and so bad, you'll probably, I think hopefully you'll have a bit of stability there, and hopefully you'll get you 8 to that 15 points, depending on touchdowns for the rest of the season.
Like it.
We'll finish off. I think there was a few of the opposite ones this week, but we've got the best kicker of the week. I don't know if we'd be negative or we'd be positive here, but I'll let you lads go if you've got anyone.
Well, it's got to be the Lions kicker, hasn't it?
That's him, Jack Bates.
Mr. Bates. He was back on the building site grafting, wasn't he?
From Houston as well. Going
Yeah.
back to Houston. Nailed 2 50-yarders, one to tie the game just inside the right post, and then the game winner just inside the left post. Two beauties. What a massive comeback that was as well. So yeah, big. He's got to win it, hasn't he? I will give a mention to Jake Moody. He did miss 3, but when it mattered, he nailed the one that mattered. So yeah, you're only as good as your last kick.
And respect to the rookie Viking kicker. I think when any team wins a game through just kicks and no touchdowns are scored, you've won the game, son. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Bailed out his quarterback.
And I'll give my arm around someone. I'll give a uplifting one to young Huku. He's been
it was terrible.
What's happened to him?
He's been a favourite of the Punt for multiple years now. We've done this for a couple of years. He deserves an arm around his shoulder. He's getting a second chance. We're not writing you off, Koo. You're still one of our favourites at the Punt.
Well, I'll say it now, Koo, you poo. You're in one of my teams.
That second one, that was an awful shank. That was like me on the golf course. That one.
Yeah, it was bad.
He's gone. He's had his last chance for me in one of my leagues. He's flicked.
Bish, give us your final thoughts. Been a fun one.
Yeah, it's been a good week. Yeah, a Rams win will just set my week off lovely this week. I need a big night to get that fantasy win. But yeah, please like, subscribe. Let us know how you're getting on in your leagues. You know, it's nearly trade deadline time now, so get scanning those teams, see where you can improve yours. Someone desperate for wins. Can you offer them someone right now and pick up someone who'll get you the win in the fantasy playoffs? So yeah, keep doing. Be like Sam Allardyce, a bit of wheeler dealing on deadline day, and good luck to you.
Come on, the cheater.
See you, lads.
See ya.